Hey there YouTube, and welcome to Ask a Maestro. This week's question was a very similar question asked by two different people. Anthony Bethel asks, why are different instruments in different keys? Why aren't they all in C? And Luke Chalrin asks, could you explain why there are transposing instruments and why are there scores written in a different key? Yeah, this is a great question because transposing instruments are the bane of many a musician's life, especially pianists when they have to work with singers, and of course composers who have to learn all the different transpositions. But of course, transposing most frequently affects woodwind players and brass players who play transposing instruments. Okay, just to be clear, because string players will have precisely zero idea what I'm talking about, let's explain what's meant by a transposing instrument. When you play a flute, let's say, the music that you read on the page is exactly what comes out of the instrument. You see the note G, you play a G, and it sounds like a G. But not every instrument works that way. Take, for example, the B-flat clarinet. When the player reads a C in the music, they play C, and it comes out sounding like a B-flat. Well, why does that make any sense? I mean, they're not really playing C, are they, if it sounds like a B-flat? Well, if the clarinet player plays that same C, his fingers it the same way, on an A clarinet, the note comes out sounding like an A. So when a composer is writing for an instrument in different keys, they have to work backwards. So that if we want an A to come out of the instrument, we have to write a C in the music. So why is this in any way beneficial? Why would we go to all of this trouble? Why not just have a clarinet in C, like a flute in C, and write the notes that you want and have the player play the notes as they are written? Well, strangely enough, this system is in place to make musicians' lives easier. I know that may sound absurd because we're going through this whole rigmarole with the key system, but here's why it makes sense. The concept is that certain fingerings in certain keys will be easier to play on an instrument. Okay, so let's take as a given that it's going to be easy for a clarinet to play in the written key of E-flat. And let's say that I want to write a piece of music in the key of D-flat major. Now I have two clarinets to choose from, the one in B-flat and the one in A. If I write it for the one in B-flat, the player is going to be playing in the key of E-flat. And we've already said that that's pretty easy to do. If I write it for the clarinet in A, the clarinetist is going to be playing in the key of F-flat major. When's the last time that you played a piece in F-flat major? Do you want to play a piece in F-flat major? I don't think so. So the kindly composer then would choose to write for the clarinet in B-flat, and then they could just play in this key. Now, what I'm explaining to you is the logic of the system. I'm not saying that I necessarily even agree with this system because I think it's frankly a little bit outdated. And it has to do with the fact that these instruments were, and continue to be played, most often by amateurs, by military men, people in marching formations, where it would be a huge advantage to have them be able to play the most simple fingerings possible. The other instruments that most commonly transpose are the brass instrument family, and the concept is similar, but it's actually a little bit different. Let's go back in time to the 18th century. This was before the invention of valves, like a valve on a trumpet or a French horn. Before there were valves, players could only get different notes on brass instruments using their lips and their air pressure. But the number of notes they could play was extremely limited. On a trumpet, maybe 6 or 7 notes, and on a horn, maybe 8 or 9. And the notes that could be played were basically only the notes of a major chord and a couple of other notes in between. And horns are an interesting example because they changed keys by adding little bits of hardware between their instrument and their mouthpiece that essentially made the length of tubing longer and thus lowered the pitch of the overall instrument. Trumpets had the same kind of concept, and these days trumpeters really do like to have options about what instrument they're going to play. The B-flat trumpets have a little bit of a weightier sound, the C trumpets are slightly more brilliant. So there are tonal differences between these instruments in different keys that affect the choice of which instrument to use. But to me, horns are the instrument that is most ripe for revolution. I personally think that we need to have a World Congress on horn in F. Because horns now are exclusively written in F, and the instrument that they play is totally standardized. So that really raises the question, well, at this point, why are we bothering? I mean, with the clarinets, sometimes it's written in B flat, sometimes it's written in A. With trumpets, sometimes they're written in B flat, sometimes they're written in C. But the horns are always written in F. So at this point, I propose to you, World Congress of Musicians, let us change the notation of the French horn so that they all simply read in C major in alto clef. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Now, a corollary of this whole question of why are there transposing instruments is, why is music written in different keys in the first place? Why isn't all music just written in C major? Well, that is an excellent question, and I will devote an entire video to it. But for now, let's just say that, strangely enough, the reason for transposing instruments is to make our lives easier, even if it oftentimes seems like it's doing anything but. Okay, YouTube, that is it for this episode of Ask a Maestro. Thank you so much to today's questioners for your wonderful questions. The rest of you, please leave questions in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe. And until next time, go play an instrument or sing a song. And until then, goodbye everyone.